Tennessee has made a living under Josh Heupel through promotion, basically elevating coaches. They didn't do that in their latest 2 hires. What the H?
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
So let me get philosophically started on this. Do you think Josh Heupel, all things being equal, Jimmy, which all things never are, likes to hire from within, likes to grow from within, or it really doesn't matter? He wants the best candidate. I also ask you as kind of a backup, because I think I know where you might go. Does it matter if it's offense or defense? What are your thoughts just philosophically?
Philosophically, I think he would like to promote from within if he has a coach who he thinks is ready. If he has a coach that he believes can fit the bill and is good enough to fill that position. If he does have some quality control coaches that he's unsure about, then he goes outside the family. I thought the promotion of Kelsey Pope has worked very well, right? No problem with that. I do think that offensively, I'm a little torn on this one. There's a part of me that thinks he wants somebody that will understand and know his system. All right. On the other hand, I think Alex Golesh at some point fits into this. He might want to bring in somebody that's got some different ideas. Okay, Heupel knows the offense. Now I need somebody like a Golesh, who I think he helped him in this, that can tweak it, that can find a good matchup, that can say, hey, I know you've been doing this. Well, what about do that? So I'm not completely sold on promoting from within unless he thinks it's a guy that can get the job done. And as far as his own offense, I think he is open to bringing somebody in with some new ideas because, look, let's face it, it's ever evolving. You know, the offense has to change. You can't just run the same thing all the time. You got to run some new wrinkles in there. That's why I think that the 22 offense was so darn good, is they threw in a bunch of wrinkles, and I think Golesh was a part of that.
So, Jimmy, thinking about that with Golesh, because he did the opposite in 2023, he hired Joey Halzle, and I got to be honest. Yeah. I don't think Joey Halzle brings any different perspective. His whole career is working under Josh Heupel. So if that philosophy is true, do you think that's why he went and got Darrell Sims as a running backs coach? Because he realized there wasn't enough variety on his offense this past offseason with Alec Ablin and Kelsey Pope and Joey Halzle all promoted?
Here's my guess on that one, and it's purely a guess. The running back, if I'm the head coach, the running back coach I hire, he's a recruiter. Because I'm a whole lot better coach if I got Jalen Wright and Jabari Small and Dylan Sampson in the backfield. Or if I got Jamal Lewis, Travis Henry, Travis Stevens in the background. So I think that is more of a recruiter position. I don't think it's a guy that would bring – and maybe he will. Maybe he'll bring in some different ideas. But I think in this particular case – and look, all cases are different. But in this particular case, I think it's more about getting a guy that could be a really good recruiter for you.
Let me ask you with the two guys that left. Did you think that was purely on their behalf, or might there have been, like happens so often in recruiting and player retention nowadays, maybe you would be better off going that way? Do you think go ahead, I'm sorry.
I thought with Jerry Mack, it was the opportunity to coach in the NFL. And let's not forget, at least in my opinion, a lot of coaches are tired of having to work 365 days out of the year.
Yep.
We all like a vacation, don't we? But they don't get one, basically. So I think nowadays more college coaches are interested in going to the NFL than ever because they do have some time off. So I think that probably applied to Jerry Mack. As far as Brian Jean-Marie, he has a really good relationship with Moore, the head coach now at Michigan. I think it was more about getting back to coaching with the guy that he'd had a longer relationship with than he did with Josh Heupel. I don't think it was about money. I don't think it was about contract. I think it was about relationship.
So on that note, Jimmy, I think another side to this is too, Brian Jean-Marie, let's be honest. Coaching linebackers in Michigan's system is a heck of a lot easier than coaching linebackers in Tennessee's system. Just being a defensive coach in Michigan's system is easier altogether, quite honestly. Yeah. So all this being said, do you think on defense, because he doesn't know defense, he is more willing to go out and hire from outside? Or do you think that he just asked Tim Banks, who do you want me to hire? And Tim Banks tells him.
I think it's consulting. I think he would run it by Banks and say, hey, what do you think about this? I think that Heupel could have veto power, and I think Banks could have veto power in that situation. So I think it was probably consultation between the two in regard to that. Now, I don't know Heupel as well, but when I was really close to covering Tennessee and Johnny Majors was around, I don't know that he asked anybody. I think he just went out and hired whoever he wanted to, and usually it was 4 or 5 a year because he lost assistant coaches at a pretty high rate. But with Heupel, I think he probably consulted with Banks and said, okay, who's a good fit? And Banks signed off on it.
Jimmy does a really good Johnny Majors impression that maybe we'll get out of him before the end. So do you feel like Josh Heupel, and everybody's going to say Dave's soft. This show's soft. Off the Hook Sports is soft. Jimmy's soft now. Everybody's soft. But do you think that Josh Heupel is on the front end of you mentioned the way Majors coached, and there are a lot of coaches that was fire and brimstone, but there is a kumbaya feel that I feel like has helped Tennessee in recruiting. Do you feel like that's prevalent? That was a goal that Josh Heupel set up, because their team culture, I would give them an A+ on.
Yeah, I do. And I think it's a whole lot different from what Jeremy Pruitt had. And I also think it's different from Butch Jones, because I don't think Butch Jones was honest with his players. And I think when you start lying to your players or cutting corners or not fulfilling promises, I think he catches up to you. I think he caught up to Butch Jones. I think that's one reason he lost his team. I also think when Heupel came in, and we all know Tennessee was an absolute mess, the players didn't even want to show up for practice. They certainly didn't want to show up in off hours and hang around with coaches. And so Heupel met with them and said, okay, what's the problem here? What do we need? And they told them. And so now the players are fine to come in and visit with coaches after hours. They want to come to practice. They enjoy the different techniques or the different plays or the imagination that you see from the offense. They like the up-tempo. Didn't they play like kickball and volleyball, and they went out bowling and stuff? They did a lot of team unity things. So, Dave, to your point, I think that's exactly right. It also, in my opinion, is the way you almost have to treat players nowadays. It would be a lot harder for Majors, in my opinion, to succeed now, and many coaches, Bob Knight, to succeed now than the way they did when they were coaching, because I just don't think you can treat players the way some coaches used to treat them.
We're going to get Caleb back. Jimmy, who was the coach that thought it would be just a fantastic idea to have like these combat training things where they would, instead of going to see a movie, they'd carry around the big, what do they call them even? The things you float, the boats, the inflatables. You remember that? And they'd go down and they'd do all that work, and that was their fun day. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but I don't know whose idea that was.
Hey, Jimmy, I got an idea. Let's meet together. We can go see a movie, or we can go carry around big inflatable boats and jump in the river like we're in the Green Berets.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go down the Ocoee and see how many rocks we can dodge.
See how many new hips I can need.
Yeah, and that's team bonding. So if you don't do your job, somebody's going to get hurt. Okay. I don't know.
So, Jimmy, so you don't think it was any sort of change in philosophy for Josh Heupel to having promoted from within for 3 staff hires and then hiring William Ing and Darrell Sims from outside the family? You don't think it was a change in philosophy? You think it's just a case by case basis, and this just happened to be the cases where he felt it better to go outside?
Yeah, I do think it's case by case, because he's had situation. Well, and by the way, the background of one of them, which I thought was interesting, was he coached in Buffalo, and Danny White used to be the AD in Buffalo. And when I saw that, I thought, that's kind of interesting. But he also recently hired a guy that was athletic director at Buffalo, went to Auburn, now he's on Tennessee staff as administrator. I think it probably is case by case, and but I can't 100% say that, because maybe there's some philosophy involved with that. Maybe it's this is what we need to do offensively that we haven't been doing. This guy can help tweak some of this stuff. Maybe we got some new ideas from a new linebacker coach. It can, because I didn't think the linebackers had a good year last year, and so maybe he brings in somebody that says, hey, this is a different way to do this than what you've been doing. So it could be a combination of the two. I don't know, but my answer would be it's a case-by-case basis.